Hello everyone, today I'm going to solo mana tombs on a level 70 Retribution Paladin. I've spent a few points into the protection tree to reduce the stun, because the second boss has a stun, and this will last for a long duration if you don't have these talents. For that specific reason, I've also spent a few points in this talent in the Retribution tree, so whenever I get stunned, I can use my freedom to break out of the stun. The gear that I use on this character is mainly PvP gear from Season 4, so Brutal Gladiator items and Guardian items. But I still have a few blue items remaining because this is a fresh character on one of the fresh servers. When I do the first pull, I usually use my Divine Protection to reduce the damage, because these 4 creatures usually do a lot of damage, so without this you could potentially die. What I also do is to always use my Judgment of Wisdom to make sure that I sustain on my mana. And then I like to use my Divine Storm as fast as possible, because when you do this, you will restore a lot of health. And if you crit, well, then your next Flash of Light or Exorcism will be instant, and what I often do is to use this on casting a Flash of Light. Alright, so here you will most likely have to encounter some Crypt Raiders. You don't really have to pay attention to anything, just make sure to kill them as fast as possible. But whenever there's a Crypt Raider and a lot of other monsters, then what I usually do is to either CC these or prioritize killing them as fast as possible. The reason for this is because they do a lot of damage, and at the same time they also have Soul Strike, and what this does is to reduce your healing taken by 50%, so just like the warrior ability Mortal Strike. When you get into this room, you have to be careful of a patrol that is walking around in the room. So make sure to mark these so you don't accidentally pull them. Another thing you also need to make sure you do is to kill all the different creatures in this room. If you pull the boss, then you will also pull all the other creatures in the room, because these are linked together with the boss. So like I mentioned earlier, either a focus on killing the Crypt Raiders, or you can also use your Repentance on these. On top of this, I also like to use my Hutch, so when I do this, I will not take a lot of damage and be hit by Soul Strike. The rest of the creatures in this room you don't really have to be careful about. It's not like they're going to do any ability or spell to you that is going to be dangerous. But if this is the first time you attempt to do this dungeon, then make sure not to pull too many, and also get a feeling about the patrols and how they're walking in the dungeon. Alright, so now you're also ready to fight the first boss. Make sure to get full health and mana before you start the encounter. And on top of this, you should also make sure you swap to the Shadow Resistance aura, because this boss will do a lot of different shadow abilities. So having resistance will simply reduce the damage you take, but also increase your chance to resist the spell. Because this target is a demon, then you can also use your Holy Wrath to do some additional damage. The reason why I always prioritize killing this instead of skipping it is because 50% of the items that you can get from this will either render for 4.5 gold and all the way up to around 7.5 gold. So you get a lot of extra gold every single hour by killing this boss. At this point, you will also start fighting 3 to 4 enemies every single pull. So what I always do is to use my Repentance on one of the targets to make sure I have to fight one less. In this room, a new creature will also appear, and this is the Ethereal Priest. These you either need to make sure you CC or kill as fast as possible. So this is mainly going to be your new main target, else they will end up healing all the other creatures for a lot of health. What you also need to be aware of here is that there's going to be a lot of different patrols, so make sure to mark these and also pay attention. There's also going to be some mana leeches, and these are usually skipped because the loot table is not great. Another new creature is going to be the Nexus Terror, and these I always make sure I skip if it's a possibility. You will end up spending a lot of time, and these are also going to fear you, so you might accidentally pull additional enemies. You're not gaining a lot of extra gold by killing this, and overall it's better to just prioritize killing some of the other creatures in the dungeon. Whenever the patrols are close to another pack, then I always make sure I skip them for a bit and move on to some other creatures. Then whenever the patrol is not nearby any longer, then I can take care of either the other creatures or maybe the patrol. Whenever you try to solo farm as a Retribution Paladin, then I would recommend you to always use your Judgment of Wisdom. This will allow you to never go out of mana, or well, it's going to be a lot more difficult for this to happen. Because you also have a lot of mana, you'll instantly get a lot of health, because whenever you crit, well, then you can use an instant Flash of Light. So this way you avoid spending a lot of time drinking and eating. In the next room, there's also going to appear yet another new creature, and this is going to be the Evil Darkcaster. This is going to be a new main target together with the Priest. The reason for this is because the Darkcasters will mana burn you, and this is probably going to be anywhere between 40 or 50% of your mana. On top of this, they also add a Shadow Weight Pain, and this will do around 1000 damage every single tick. So make sure to cleanse this as fast as possible. So what I usually do when I fight these targets is to use my Repentance or Hammer of Justice to interrupt the mana burn. And whenever there's 2 Dark Casters and for example 1 or 2 Priests, then I use my cooldowns to make sure I do as much damage as possible to prevent the healing, but also the mana burn. At these 2 creatures, I also end up getting mana burn, and this is going to reduce my mana with around 40%. I'm also hit by Shadow Weight Pain, and I decide not to cleanse this so you can see the damage that I take. What you could do in this case when you're in this room is to swap to your Shadow Resistance Aura. This will reduce the chance of you being hit by Shadow Weight Pain, but also the damage that you take. Else, there isn't really anything else important in this room, of course beside the second boss that is going to kill you if you don't have the talents that I use. So before you start the encounter, make sure to have full health and mana here, because this is going to be so important. So whenever I fight this boss, I always make sure to use my instant Flash of Light to stay at 100% health. What you can also do after 10 or 20 seconds is to use your Divine Protection to reduce your damage taken by 50%. This boss also has 2 different stun abilities, but where I usually use my freedom is on Crystal Prison. This stun is where you will take a lot of damage, and you're also going to be stunned for the longest duration. Beside this, I don't really think there's anything else important to mention. Of course, if you have mining, make sure to use this on the boss, because this will grant you a lot of materials that you can post on the auction house. On top of this, you can also find different deposits or veins inside the dungeon, which will grant you some additional gold. And if you ever accidentally pull too many creatures, then just make sure to run and kill them at the same time. This will increase your chance of surviving. I'll add in some music, and whenever there's something important to be mentioned, I'll do this. But for the next couple of rooms, it's pretty much just gonna be the same thing that I've already mentioned, so prioritize killing the right targets. Alright, so here's the third boss. If you would like to kill this, you need to make sure you kill everything in this room. But usually I just skip this, because the loot table is not that great, and there's a high chance that you're going to spend too much time and only getting an item where you can winter it for like 2 to 3 gold. So by doing this dungeon, I've got almost 83 gold, and this is also equal to 250 raw gold every single hour. And this is raw gold that I'm talking about, not posting anything on the auction house, and not even calculating the ores and gems that I've got as well. You can even convert the cloth into bandages to get even more gold. So if we add these things together, then you can easily make 300 gold an hour. And what I also like about this dungeon is that right outside you can winter and even purchase new food and water. If you would like to see more gold making methods in Wrath of the Lich King, then make sure to check out the channel or subscribe and hit the notification bell to get notified the next time I post a video. But as always, thank you so much for watching and have an amazing day. Peace!